Hey TechKnowSurge, in this video we're going to define what a computer is. And by defining what a computer is, we're going to start categorizing what is and isn't a computer. And I think what you're going to find is that there's going to be a lot more that's going to be included in that computer category that you didn't realize initially. We're going to kick this video off by defining what a computer is and the 4 functions that computers carry out. Then we're going to apply that to a calculator and see how a calculator works. We'll also get into some of the bits and how a calculator uses these bits to do the calculation. And then we'll talk about some examples of input and outputs to computers. What I have right here is called an abacus. They have these little beads on it that you can shuffle back and forth. Now, what people use this for is that they can shuffle these back and forth to help them calculate certain information, calculate data. And so some consider this as being the first computers. Now, it's not the electronic computers that we think of nowadays. However, some consider this being the precursor to what computers are now. Now, certainly an abacus isn't a modern computer like my laptop is, or my tablet. It is a computer as well. Same thing with my cell phone. Cell phones are computers. Same thing with my watch. My home automation is a computer as well. Even these 2 TV sets that you see in the background are modern computers. So what ties this all together? What is the commonality between all of these different objects? Computers are said to have 4 main functions. There's some sort of input, there's a process that happens, a calculation that happens, and then there's an output. Another function that's part of computers is some sort of storage that happens. With the processing, modern computers are usually all done electronically nowadays. This means that even this simple calculator is a form of computer. I can do 2 plus 2. It just accepted my input. I can hit equals and it will calculate, and then it has an output. It's showing me 4. It also has a memory, so I can actually store this number in a memory. Now, modern computers usually process in binary. For instance, this calculator right here, when I'm pressing the 2 on here, it shows a 2, but it shows it in decimal format, not binary format. But when I'm doing the calculation, in the background of this, in the circuitry of this, it's actually doing that all with binary numbers. So on my calculator, when I press 2 plus 4, what's happening is the calculator is actually seeing that in binary form. It's seeing it as 0010 for the 2 and 1000 for the 4. Now I'm going to hit the equal sign, and that's when it actually does the processing. It's going to send it through its integrated circuit on the board, and then it will pop out with an answer. And that answer is going to be in a binary number. It's going to be 1010. The next thing that it needs to do is display it. So it shows me a 6 in decimal form. So it converts it back into a decimal form to be displayed on this little LCD readout here. Let's look at some examples of inputs into modern computers. One of them is your keyboard. Your keyboard has a bunch of different characters on it, and when you press one of those characters, it will convert that into a binary number and then send it to the processor to be processed. A mouse will record the movement as it glides across the surface, and then it will convert that into a binary number and then send it to your computer to be processed. A microphone on your computer is going to take the sound waves and convert it into a binary equivalent and then to be sent to your computer to be processed. And a webcam will take your image and turn it into a digital equivalent and then send it to your computer to be processed. There's also a lot of examples of outputs, such as headphones where I want to listen to audio. What will happen is those digital signals get converted back into sound waves and then are played through my headphones so I can listen to them. Or perhaps my monitor so that way I can see what's happening on my computer. Or a printer so I can print out a copy of the output. There's also some equipment that do both input and output. An example might be a network interface card. I'd plug this Ethernet into my network interface card so I can connect it to other computers or to get onto the internet. And what happens is when I want to go to a website, it sends bits these binary numbers down this cable and makes a request, and then that comes back to my computer interprets it and then displays it on the screen. Another example of a piece of equipment that does both input and output is my tablet right here. This tablet shows my presentation, but it also has an input to it. So it has the screen, which is an output, and then the input is my pen where I can draw on my presentation. And there's lots of different ways we could store data as well. One example might be a USB drive where I can transfer data from one device to another. Could be a solid state drive, which typically stays on the computer, or it could be an SD card, which I transfer information back and forth between my cameras and my computer. So computers have some sort of input, they process that data, they have an output, and there's a storage component to it. So throughout the rest of this course, we're gonna dig deeper into that and see really just how many similarities there are between my home automation, my watch, my laptop, and these TVs.